we're back with Sonya Epifantseva and Arshak Makichyan, and these both of them live in Russia and struck in Moscow. Earlier in 2019, Arshak was arrested for climate strike, and we'll jump in and talk about that first.
Hi. Yeah, I was arrested the same day when I was back from Madrid. And I was arrested for strike on October 25. And then I was waiting for a month for a call from the police or from somewhere. And they called me a week before my trip to Madrid. And my first trial was on November 28th, but I missed it because I was on my way to Madrid. And they postponed it because they couldn't arrest me without me. And then when I was back from Madrid, I had another trial, and I was arrested for 6 days for 15 minutes strike. We were just 3 persons on the square, and we were just standing, and it was very strange that I was arrested. And yeah, I spent 6 days in a detention center. It was boring, like now. Only without internet and everything. Yeah.
So that you're not allowed to strike in Moscow and in Russia generally, is a general problem, not only for you. Do you guys want to say something about that, about how the laws are and what the laws allow and what they don't?
Well, in Russia, it is just very difficult for international movement to exist because there are just too many prohibitions. Like, firstly, we just have this absurd thing that it is not allowed to strike for minors. When you stand in a single picket, you're becoming essentially its organizer. So it is forbidden for minors to organize pickets. And when you're standing single, you're just the organizer. So it's kind of strange. And anyway, some people, they still come out. And there was a girl in Rostov. It's a Russian city. And she was in a single picket, and then police came to her, and they asked her data. And then at school, her parents, they were told to make some sense into her, and since then she didn't strike. So it was kind of about the strange laws. And in fact, I think that when there is such law, they just kind of tell us that if you're under 18, you're just not allowed to have your point of view and to show it to other people. So it is in Russia that school children, they can only strike in mass pickets, and at the same time, there's also interesting thing that mass pickets are just always not permitted. For example, this year we filed more than 20 notifications for the mass events, and they just denied them with some ridiculous reasons, like it is against the safe policy of the city or something like that. And they always say that we should go strike in some distant park in another part of Moscow. So I think it's kind of funny that they send us to strike with trees because we're eco-activists or something. And one of our activists, she was trying to solve this problem. She was trying to sue the city hall of Moscow, and it was some the same thing as happened with Arshak when the court decided everything without her. So she thinks that it is against our rights, and she's going to go straight to the European Court of Justice, and she's going for it. So I think maybe in the future we will be able to strike eventually, but I'm not sure. So,
That's
yeah.
amazing. So even though you have all these boundaries and walls, how long have you been striking all over Russia?
I was striking for like 58 weeks. Last weeks were online strikes, and a single strike is a single picket is the only form. You do not need permission from the government. That's why we having single strikes, and we having queues for single strike. Like a person standing on the square with the poster, and then we striking in turns. Like other people standing just without posters, and one person standing with a poster. And it's kind of fun, but strange. And yeah, and now there are like before the pandemic, there were strikes in 5 or 7 cities every week in Russia. So it's not like a hopeless thing, but it's growing. Like a year ago, I was striking alone every week. And now it's better. Even with the media, there are more reports about climate crisis in the media, but it's not like in Europe.
So you said that she's trying to go to the EU courts. Do we know any updates on that? How is it going? I guess now because of the pandemic, everything's slowing down. But
Yeah.
what is her view and perspective on things?
The last thing I know that another institution that was after the court that denied her notification, she went there and they also denied it. So I think with all this crisis, it is postponed, but I don't think that she will stop because she's just going for it, I think. But the problem is that the European Court, it's just very, very long time that you can come for it. It can take years. So probably it's going to be a very long process.
Is there some way people outside of Russia can support this cause?
I think that the only option is to press on the government because, like, all this thing, they are very, they are against our rights, and I think that it is possible for our government to make a discussion about these problems in Russia, but I think at the same time dangerous because they can say that it's a I don't know, intrusion into the country's policy. So it's kind of I don't know how they can help. So it wouldn't be any consequences.
Just raise awareness in their countries that this is actually happening and inform people, right?
Yeah, like the only option.
I was saying that when I was arrested, a lot of people were protesting near Russian embassies in different countries and in Moscow. And so when someone is arrested, you can protest near the Russian embassies. And yeah, Europe is buying a lot of fossil fuel from Russia. You cannot stop doing that.
There was also a thing, a flash mob, Let Russia Strike for Climate. A lot of people, they were shooting with the posters saying Let Russia Strike for Climate, and it was very supportive. And when Arshak he got arrested, it was also hashtag I don't remember. Yeah,
I think Free Arshak, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I organized flash mob Russia strike for climate a year ago when we were preparing to second global strike, and the government denied us right to mass picket, and I organized that flash mob because it's not just for people from other countries, it's for Russian people as well. They can do something like a digital strike, and with hashtag Let Russia Strike for Climate to participate in our strikes, yeah, if they cannot strike on the streets.
So because of the lot of boundaries you have from the government with the laws, are you able to also do other actions than strikes, or do you only do strikes?
We were doing lives. We're still doing them every Friday. We invite activists, and they talk about the theme of the week. It was, what is your hope? Why did you start doing activism and something like that? And people from different cities, they come to lives and they talk about it. And last week we organized live with bloggers. A lot of them supported us. It was very, very surprising, and it was very nice. And so we are doing this things except striking, because in this situation you just have a lot of free time, and you can do a lot of cool stuff.
And we're organizing webinars as well. Like, yeah, there are international webinars, and now there are Russian webinars. Last one was with climate scientists from Russia, and next one will be about renewable energy and coal. So,
Arshak, so you were at COP25. What kind of impressions do you have from it? What did you take back from it? Do you think it helped? Do you think something happened? Because last week we had Shia Bastiata. She's an activist from New York, and she told us that in the COPs, so many have happened, nothing has changed. What was your view on it?
I think it was very interesting, and I met a lot of activists from all around the world, and I met a lot of other interesting people, scientists from IPCC, and a lot of other interesting people. And yeah, COP failed, but the most important things we should do in the countries, like there are big protests in Europe and in the US, and they are changing the situation with climate policy. And so we need to organize something like that in Russia and everywhere to change climate policy. Then it will be easy to cooperate on international things like COP, because like when there is no attention to what doing the government on the COP, some delegation like Russian can stop real action on the international level, like asking stupid questions or doing stupid things like they trying to do on the COP25. And so it's very important to spread protest everywhere, not only in Europe. And I think it's very important to attend such events, and it was interesting. I was debated at the COP25, and it was fun as well. And we were protesting there. Yeah, but I hope, of course, that the next COP will be better.
So right now we're in a pandemic, as everyone knows, worldwide. What is your government doing about the environmental laws right now? Because I know that Greece, for example, is trying to get rid of them and lift them, and other countries as well. America, Trump did the same thing. So what is Russia doing right now? So the government?
Nothing.
Yeah, the same. They trying to rid of the environmental regulation, and they trying to help to fossil fuel companies. and not trying to help to people, because in the US or in the Europe, the government helping people because a lot of people lost their jobs and they getting some help from the government. And in Russia, government helping only to industries, and yeah, it's quite frustrating. So it will be quite big economical crisis, and we don't know what will be next. It's quite unpredictable with Russia.
So these were pretty much all my questions. Do you guys want to say something that we didn't mention? Maybe add something else?
Well, I think I should add that I'm not in Hogwarts right now. I'm just home. It's just a background.
Okay, so thank you very much for participating and telling us about your country and what's going on. I hope to talk to you guys soon.
Thank you.
During this corona crisis, we have seen how vulnerable the world is. We need to take our society more resilient for the crisis to come. In this climate crisis, which is way bigger than corona, we need to take this crisis as a chance to build a more just and more sustainable future. We need to quit our reliance on fossil fuels now.
We are living in a difficult moment, we all know it, but this period of paralysis gives us the possibility to think and rethink about ourselves, our role in the society, and our society itself, which is based on a concept of unlimited growth on a limited planet. We can profit of the downfall of oil prices to reduce fossil fuels subsidies and stimulate competitive clean energies. It is the time to listen to the science, treat every crisis like a crisis, bet on a sustainable recovery, and move from a system which is based on GDP and growth to a system that places at its center human rights, sustainability, and real necessities of the people.